Hey, good morning everybody. Just getting the stream set up here while I wait for some people to join in. Excuse me. So, got Mystics coming. We've got Satori getting some much needed love. Hey, what's going on, Samir? How's it going? And sorry if the what I say doesn't line up exactly with what you guys type. There is a bit of a chat delay, and I'm not quite sure how to deal with that. But big news with the new hero coming. I'm sure a lot of people saw. Hey, Finkel, how's it going? There's quite a number of changes, and a lot of people, particularly people who don't play Satori, seem to be the most upset about it. But I don't think it's going to be quite as earth-shattering as people think. Satori still has dangerously low magic penetration. He still requires a lot of it to get through the teams that he still has trouble getting through. It's just going to give him a bit more defensive options because he's currently in a bit of a weak state. 10 to 15 minutes, that's fine. I'm just glad you're able to stop by. What were your thoughts on the Mystics coming out? Finkel, how do you feel about it? Oh yeah, I mean, Satori should be able to kill the opponent Jorgen. Absolutely. I mean, Jorgen's constantly gaining bonus energy. My Satori kills Jorgen more often than not anyway. Um, it just depends on how many times Jorgen attacks between ults. But yeah, I mean, Jorgen has so much magic defense. It's really difficult to get through him sometimes. So need specific heroes to beat his potential 5 marks still. Now, when you say potential 5 marks, you're talking about the additional marks he gets on his second skill. Is that right, Samir? Oh, couldn't even kill the opponent Jorgen. Yeah, magic defense is still Satori's bane. Like that, I can. I set up a fight last night where I put nobody who gained bonus energy, and I just put a bunch of magic defense heroes in there, and Satori did like 200,000 damage total before his whole team got wiped. So yeah, I mean he's still he needs magic penetration, or he's not going to do well. There are some teams that use very low health damage dealers to try to hide it in the mid line, and that's not really going to work for them anymore, which is fine. I mean, it's like that against the Twins, so it's not like it's anything we're not used to seeing. It's just a different type of hero now. I mean, Satori used to be that level of powerful, not because he was able to just one-shot the DPS right in the beginning, but he was actually able to kill the tanks very quickly because back then, like Astaros didn't have magic defense skins, and a lot of the other tanks didn't have additional health skins. So Satori was really chopping the teams down very quickly before. So he's kind of gotten pushed to the side a little bit in the meta. Yeah, and I mean, you shouldn't need to pivot to a Satori team, but Satori has always been a really good unit. He was dangerously close in the current meta with all the magic defense skins. Just kind of being phased out. I very rarely used him now. Although he could get wins, it was just easier to get wins with other teams. Um, and you don't necessarily need high magic defense heroes or have to kill him fast. You could also use energy control, depending on the team that Satori's in. I know it's kind of counterintuitive, because Satori also counters Tristan, but Tristan can also energy burn the holy living heck out of Satori. Um, Coupled with what's his name, Phobos, he can also do it. I mean, so it really, like I said, it'll depend on the lineup that he's in, but there's multiple ways to get to him besides just stacking magic defense. I mean, you could have units like Lars still. I mean, there's still a lot of twins teams that just get absolutely, or I'm sorry, that just absolutely destroy Satori teams, and so there's still a lot of options there. Plus, like you said, the bulky magic defense teams. I mean, it's good to have them anyway because they also beat twins. They also beat chaos teams. So, bulky magic defense teams may be one of the newer meta teams. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, they already are kind of pushing into that realm. I think Daredevil and Kira will struggle depending on the timers that are tied to Amira's skills. I don't really know what they are. Just because they didn't really give that information in the live stream. But as long as the particular, hold on, let me move this real quick because I have some of her skills in the background here. Can you see that? So particularly this skill, I think it was. No, this skill. Fair deal. So it says with those enemies that have agility as their main stat, their critical hits become critical fumbles for 9 seconds, and their critical hit chance increases. And their critical hit chance increases. Okay, so critical fumbles deal half. So basically, this skill will reduce critical hit damage by 75%, and that's 75% of the 200%. So it's like a massive damage reduction. So they're actually going to be doing half damage instead of double damage. Amira's ult can do over 300k damage to each opposing hero. Is that considered a lot? Because it might be possible to build around. Well, so 300,000 damage, I mean, it depends, because her magic penetration, like Satori, is kind of low. So it's only really going to be doing that much, but then there's no magic penetration on the team. So, she could still get shut down by the heavy magic defense teams, and if you reduce 300k by 75%, which is just having 9,000 defense. Hey George, how's it going? I'm sorry. So you said, what was it, 300,000? Times that by 0.75. Sorry. You talk about taking 225,000 damage off that, so instead of 300,000 damage, they'd only be taking 75,000 damage. So, I mean, that damage is not that big, but it also said that every time the hero deals damage, so let me go back to that skill here. So, whenever she's going to bury her foes under cursed gold. So cursed gold. So one thing to keep in mind, it sounds like this is a curse. That tells me that Sebastian, his ultimate, can block this skill. So that's something to consider. It doesn't appear that this skill does any damage on impact. So it's not even going to affect Sebastian's shield at all. He's just going to block it completely. So all this damage is irrelevant with regard to Sebastian's shield. Um, but each time the opponent, so the people that are covered in this gold, every time they deal damage, they whittle the health away. So as the health of the gold depletes, the damage that the gold deals also depletes. I don't think it's ever going to do 300,000 damage, because that means that your team would have to have done 0 damage for 10 seconds in order for that to happen. So it doesn't seem. I mean, it may happen in very rare circumstances where if your team is just completely stun locked, but I don't think that's going to happen very often. Um, and again, this checks magic defense. So, her magic penetration, I think, was only 16 or 17,000. It was right around the Satori and Faceless range. So, uh, she can still be walled out, I think. So even like a hero like Martha, Martha doesn't do a lot of damage. So Martha will take a lot of damage from this skill, but Martha also has like 24 or 25,000 magic defense. So when you factor that in, she's going to take what, 75,000, which is, I mean, it'll stun her for a second, but she'll just heal right back up. If anything, it's just going to make her ult faster, which is annoying. So it could work against the Mystics in this particular scenario. But we were talking about the agility skill also. Jet guys don't get any love. Well, so I still think I'm curious to wonder what the cooldown of this skill will be. If it, I hope it's at least 20 seconds. At least 20 seconds, because I don't want there to be a situation where like you partner her with Thea, and then if she's low in health, this skill is just always active, because that, I mean, that's good against critical hit teams, but I don't know that that would be fair. But we'll see what the cooldowns are. If it's 18 seconds, that's gonna be kind of sucky for critical hit teams. And also, it looked like when she came out, I don't know if it was this skill or no, because this says for 8 seconds, and this says for 9 seconds. But it looked like the enemy team had just like a purple, or the Mystic team had a little purple aura under them, kind of like how Elvenar did with his Earth Shield. So I'm not sure what that was exactly, because I didn't see all of the live stream, so I don't know if anyone has any insight on that, about why that was on there right from the start. But yeah, critical. So I mean, I'm actually glad to see them doing something about critical hits, just because. I mean, I think Zeri is going to become an absolute monster against critical hit teams now. I mean, she already kind of was, and this is just sealing the deal, so to speak. Like, if you're up against a crit team, you're going to want to send in Zeri and Amira, pretty much. I mean, you can already kind of send in Elvenar and Aurora, but Alvanor's takes so much splash damage that he just tends to die without a health skin. So until we get that, looks like Zeri and Amira might be the go-to for critical hit teams in the future. Because right now, I mean, we're seeing these waves of what is it, Tristan and Tristan Seb Jet teams. Just stick 2 tanks in front of Tristan, and then he's just firing off. And Helios, yeah, well, but that's the thing. You're not even going to need Helios, because Helios is only there because crit teams do so much damage. You're trying to race them, basically, and you can't race them, so you have to just use Helios to have them kill themselves. Alright, see you later, Finkel. But with the new setup, you're basically cutting their damage in half, so critical hits basically aren't going to do anything. Now, the thing that'll be interesting to see, which I don't think this is going to affect Sebastian, but if this skill also reduces the damage that Sebastian offers on critical hits, if it somehow cuts his pure damage, that will be really interesting to see. If it does, That might be a little OP. Um, yeah, yes, Celeste with the mirror. I mean, they took, they kind of, it's funny, they basically took my entire team that I used to use with Satori, so like Celeste, Satori, Rufus, and Martha, and I used to throw Anvari in there, um, but it's just funny now. I could just throw Amira in there, and that's basically the same thing. But then that I feel like that team kind of has the potential to be opened up in the middle by Kark, for example. Uh, you know, Kark takes a ton of damage. If you don't have Morrigan to prevent Astaros Res, Kark is just going to come right back and wipe your whole middle line. So there goes Satori. Um, I I don't think it's going to be quite as OP as people think. Uh, I mean, yeah, there are going to be some teams that get caught with their pants down. Absolutely. I don't think it's going to absolutely steamroll everything, but I do want to look more at these other skills. Like Amira activates a patronage for 8 seconds, protecting her allies. While the patronage is active, this reminds me very much of Alvenor's Earthshield. Her allies don't take magic damage lower than this, which is based on her magic attack. So magic attack buffs, Nebula can influence this. From enemies that have intelligence as their main stat. So and if you notice, all of her skills are kind of targeted at different heroes based on their main stat, which I think is kind of cool. I like how they really force us to look at that and strategize even based around that. I think that's a good thing, because there are some heroes like Jorgen, for example. He does heavy magic damage, but he's a strength-based hero, so this skill isn't going to affect him. Like, she can't block magic damage from Jorgen, or Lilith for that matter. Lilith does a lot of magic damage. Lilith isn't going to be blocked by this skill. Oh, there it is. The patronage is always active for mystics. Yeah, so it's just like Alvenar, but that means that she's gonna greatly reduce damage done to tanks by Celeste. Um, I mean, maybe it'll pave the way for certain scenarios, even against. Because I know Satori is already a pretty decent tank against Twins teams, so even that with this, if the Twins before, if they had Celeste on the team, you kind of had to shy away from it a little bit because she deals so much damage. But now with this, cutting her damage 45,000 per hit, if it's like Alvenor's, I'm pretty sure it's going to work before the mitigation is applied. Uh, so it's going to just reduce the raw damage, and then mitigation will apply on top of that. But I'm pretty sure he doesn't mitigate her damage yet. If you have Faceless on the team, though, he might, because he steals intelligence the whole fight. And it's always active for Mystics and part of the time for everyone else. So, I mean, that is a cool skill. I like these skills. I feel bad for Alvenor that he's so far forward and Amira is so far back. I am curious exactly where she falls in the lineup, though. Like, how far back? I don't think we saw that exactly, because it seemed like they were using her mostly with Mystics, which I get why. But this skill is huge, because if it's like Alvenor's on the shield priority, it's going to be right near the top, which means it gets factored in like before anything. So it can block, or not before anything, it's right after the base shields, so like Judge's shield and all them. But things like this and Alvenor's skill could prevent dodges from occurring. So you have to also kind of consider that. Amira with a team that prevents the opponent from doing damage. Yeah, I mean, it could be a potential stall idea. It's going to open things up for a lot of creative team building, which is good. I mean, that's what this game needs. This game doesn't need stale teams. And I still think that the right teams are going to be able to just shut down the damage potential of this team. So I don't think that it's necessarily going to just run everything over. Yeah, I mean, Faceless. Uh, Faceless, I think, is going to be used in a lot of teams, particularly against Amira, only for the fact that he gives 3,000 magic defense to the whole team, and it's even there when he's dead. That is, especially because a lot of intelligence-based heroes, all the ones that have the magic defense cliff, they, excuse me, their magic defense is just at the cusp of Satori's magic pen. So when you add Faceless into that mix, now all of them all of a sudden mitigate Satori's damage like over 50%. And that's almost all intelligence-based heroes, but they need to have that magic defense cliff. So, then all of a sudden, Satori's damage goes from being incredibly oppressive to just kind of, oh, well, you just ulted, but you just made me ult too, so I hope you can survive. And uh, this, I actually like the patronage. Sorry, I haven't really started talking about the endurance test yet, but the patronage skill, because that's going to help him a lot against the twins, for example, since it's always active. Uh, you know, it's reducing 45,000 damage per hit. Like, that's a lot of damage. Um, and from a hero like Lars, who relies on massive damage and executing people, like, if Krista drags you across the ice shards, it'll do 0 damage. Like, that is big, because that's one of the biggest ways they kill you. So, if most of the damage from the Twins team just can't happen, that might be a very good attacking team against Twins, for example. And I know a lot of teams struggle against them. You still have to be concerned, again, with if they have Jorgen on the team, because he's going to just wipe you. Because with Faceless there, giving him Magic Pen, I mean, he can still drop bombs on the whole team, so I wouldn't count people like him out. And then the Endurance test. Amira tests the enemies that have Strength as their main stat by depleting 5% of their max energy. If their max health is below 500, I wonder how that is calculated. It's based on magic attacks. So, some tanks have a lot more health than that. Some, like Astaroth, doesn't even have that much health total. So, no matter what, Astaroth will always get energy burned. That sucks for Astaroth. So there's things like that to consider. And Vari, I don't know if he has over that health. He's probably very close to that amount of health. So, but and it says it's dependent on magic attack. So I don't know if this skill is calculated at the beginning of fight, or if it's, so if it's static, or if it's kind of dynamic throughout the battle. If it's dynamic, that's pretty cool. I wonder what the timer of this skill is also. It doesn't really say. Right, yeah, the more the better for the magic attack, because it basically raises the bar for the health. So yeah, it kind of gets closer and closer to the tanks up there. So as long as they're below that, she'll deplete 50% of their energy. And it's not just tanks. It's units like Tristan. I mean, you think about Tristan. He's constantly gaining energy like Orion. So this is an additional, aside from Jorgen, this is an additional way to really cut down on those Tristan teams, which is huge. Because I don't believe. Sorry, I gotta back out here real quick. I want to see. Where is Tristan at? He's somewhere around here. Yeah, Tristan has 544,000 health. So Tristan will always get 50% energy burned. And that's big on him because, again, he's like the physical based Orion. He's looking to spam his ultimate as often as he can. So depending on the cooldown of her endurance test skill, I mean, that could prove to ruin a lot of these teams, right? And because she's not going to be mitigating the critical hits of this team, because the whole thing with her and her second skill, if you look back, it only affects heroes that have agility as their main stat. But a lot of the crit teams you see today are strength based, so it's 2 tanks, Tristan, and then Sebjet. So it only affects Sebastian in that team. But this will help reduce the energy, so kind of slow this team down a lot, which is good. And you don't need to have her on a team of mystics to leverage this, so that's going to be a great thing. I think I think she's definitely going to have effectiveness with mystics, but I think you're also going to see her being leveraged in a lot of other teams as well. Fair Deal provides crit to all agility heroes. Yeah, that's the way I understand it. Fair Deal with those enemies that have agility as their main stat. Now notice it says enemies, so it's not going to be your units. So it's only agility units on the enemy team. And then, so basically it's making them critical hit more often, and you're like, well, why would I want that? Because it cuts the critical hit damage 75%. So that's huge. So it's basically forcing them to do more and more damage, and they're also still, like, you could throw Amira in with Helios. You're going to be making the enemy crit more, so Helios is really going to go to town, and when they crit, they're dealing less damage. So this is, yeah, exactly. Helios is going to make a great combo with her. But they also kind of serve similar purposes. So while they may work together, and that could be a great thing to consider on offense. Defensively, it might be good, like if you're really worried about opponents who have only built crit teams. You can just kind of send her in one team, Helios in another team, and if you have another answer to a crit team, like for example, some people are worried about like Yasmin or Kira, and they'll just put Undead in the third team, for example. But they will pump the ult of your team. Who will pump the ult of your team? Or you mean the critical hit heroes as they're dealing minor amounts of damage? And Anthony, I don't know if it'll be the new meta, but I definitely think it's not like mystics themselves will be the new meta, but it will definitely have its influence on the meta. It's going to make a lot of teams that were kind of staples or go-to teams, they're not going to work as well anymore. And so you're probably going to see a lot of Satori lineups, and people are going to have to learn how to get around the the various setups people are gonna come up with. So that's kind of how the meta is gonna start forming at the beginning. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna affect Sebastian's pure damage, but I am curious to see if patronage also affects Sebastian's pure damage bonus to crits. Yeah, I mean, I would agree, David. I feel like a lot of new heroes typically are must-have heroes. I can't think. I mean, Alvenar isn't used that often, but he still has potential to be really good. And like I use him in a lot of Hydra lineups, for example. Alvenar is a great tank, particularly in PVM, like against the campaign or just bosses, that kind of thing. Alvenar is a great unit. Once he gets a Hellskin, though, you will see him used a lot more. He's really good. But there's a lot of units. I think all the new units. Isaac is okay, but I think the problem is that he doesn't heal the engineers behind him. So you kind of he takes up a very important spot on engineer teams, and he doesn't offer them protection. So I think that's why Isaac you don't really see Isaac very much in mobile. I mean, I've used him a fair amount in non-engineer teams, but it's not anything where I'm always using him. So yeah, I guess there are some heroes that aren't as must-have, but I would agree. I think Amira is probably going to be one of those ones that you definitely want to have. And I'm sorry, I was talking about Tristan's health earlier. Let me just make sure. Yeah, so Tristan's health 544,000. Instead of that skill, let me slide it this way so we can still see. There we go. That's better. So we've got Tristan's health, who's at 544,000, versus that skill, 569. So you can really see um, how there's going to be a lot of strength heroes that just always get negatively impacted. And where is our boy Anvari? Also 542. So Anvari will always get 50% energy burned. Like, that's going to hurt. Now, another thing to think about, he relies a lot on armor buffs when dealing with Kark. So Amira with Kark is always going to energy burn the tank. She's always going to energy burn Anvari. Kark may be able to get through Anvari paired with Amira. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But, these are all things that we should be thinking about. So, Satori is great. I love that he's getting more love. I don't think he's going to be super overpowered, that he's just going to completely dominate everyone. I think he's still going to have his struggles, just far fewer of them, which I'm glad to see. But, Amira herself is really going to shift a lot of things. There's going to be a lot of teams that could, for example, defend Kark before that aren't going to be able to in the future. I think it's going to bring a lot of interesting changes, and I'm glad to see it. I like things like this. What are some of your other thoughts, guys? Do you want to start looking at some of how Satori works right now, or do you guys want to talk more about these skills? Yeah, I think crit teams will suffer because of her, and that's absolutely fair. Uh, I don't know to what extent, because again, we don't know the cooldown of the skill, but it looks like it's gonna probably be close to 50% of the time, if not maybe 40% of the time that skill is active. So, but I don't think that it's going to impact Sebastian's pure damage, which really crit teams mostly get their damage from Sebastian. Let's be honest. They do deal a fair amount of damage without him, but Sebastian's pure damage is really what gets them rolling. So if you have heroes, and this may bring Artemis greater relevance, because you have heroes like Artemis and Daredevil who crit a lot. Like, they crit a lot, and you put them on a team with Sebastian, they're still going to do a lot of damage. They will absolutely probably die to Satori if he ults. So you're going to have to be careful of that. But you may see a lot of teams now that have Daredevil, but with bulkier units behind her instead of marksman. So instead of trying to race as a DPS, they're going to just slowly work on building up Daredevil's damage. And I don't know exactly how good or bad that's going to be, because like against Daredevil, like her second skill, this fair deal, because she's going to be forcing Daredevil to crit a lot. So think about that. Daredevil scales damage by, and let me pull her up here. Where is she at in my list? Here she is. So skills, thirst for blood. So early critical hits, or each critical hit, Daredevil increases her physical attack by 2200 damage. Like, that's a lot. So her base attack is increasing 2200. Amira is forcing Daredevil to crit more often. And if you don't kill Daredevil within a reasonable amount of time, for the duration of time that Fair Deal is not active, Daredevil's crits are going to get out of control. She's going to be doing insane damage. So, that's another thing to consider. Maybe Daredevil, actually works against Amira. I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't know the timer of the skill, so that's really going to play a lot into it. And again, if you put bulky units behind Daredevil, and then you have because she has a decent magic defense. I think it's 9,000 or close to it. 7,000, so 8,000 magic defense. Um, if you have a unit like Cornelius on the team, for example, who stands behind her, his third skill offers magic defense, which would put her well beyond Satori's range, and his ultimate grants magic defense. She has 245,000 health. I mean, if one of those magic buffs or magic defense buffs is active, Satori isn't going to do anything to her. So maybe she is a good, like Daredevil Cornelius. Who knows? Maybe that will be one of the answers to them. We'll see. Sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent there and missed out on some of the chat. Um, Good morning, Greg. Oh wow, all the way from Sydney. I am on the east coast of the United States, so quite a distance from you. Probably 20 some hours by plane. Yes, skill cooldown absolutely matters. Engineers, when you are testing, test Cleaver Peppy and Fox. Ginger Isaac does miracles in CSW. It's something to consider. I'd have to mess with it some, but my the first two things that come to my mind are there are probably twins lineups that really mess with that, and Jew probably loves that lineup so much. Um, but that's just kind of the first things that come to mind. I can probably think of a couple others too. Darkstar debuffs have an impact on Amira's skills. When you say Darkstar's debuff, I think you mean her shout, right? Like this one, where she prevents buffs from happening. Oh, on attack, yeah, I could absolutely see that team being effective on attack. I mean, there's a lot of teams that are effective on attack. Honestly, people I don't think get creative enough with attacking teams. Defending teams, I think are more niche. Like they're more like you. Not all teams are good defensive teams, but a lot of teams could be good offensive teams. Um, yes, so this skill should affect actually. Not fair deal, but patronage. It should affect this skill, not on her mystic partners, but on her non-mystic partners. I think it will affect this skill because like it says, it activates only for 8 seconds, which means that because for Mystic Heroes, it's always on, so it's not going to affect it for Mystic Heroes. But because it doesn't affect the buff itself, it doesn't remove the buff. It prevents the hero from using the skill which provides the buff. So that will prevent her from actually using the skill for non-mystic. This is a debuff, this is a debuff, so it's not going to affect those, and this is also affects the enemy. So I think it's only going to affect the patronage skill for Darkstar, yes. Although I didn't capture it in my image whether or not this was a buff, but I would imagine that it is considered a buff, yeah. But yeah, like there's George, you're talking about on attack versus defense, and I mean, this especially if you know the enemy team, like this guy is such a killer tank for a lot of teams, and I'm sorry, this is kind of off the screen here. Our boy Elvenar. He is an amazing tank, and his Rune of Earth is crazy. So obviously it's not quite as effective as Amira's. You can see he only gets 41,887. I think Amira's was let me just read it on mine, 45,299. So she's definitely got the advantage there, but more people deal, and Alvenor's isn't restricted to type, I guess. Alvenor's is just basic attacks. So it blocks physical basic attacks and it blocks magical basic attacks, um, which is pretty cool. I like that a lot because you can mitigate Celeste's damage a ton. You can mitigate, you can completely negate, not even mitigate, you can negate Satori's damage, basic attack. And when Alvenor blocks Satori's basic attack, he also prevents Satori from applying the Fox mark. That's fun. Because Satori's basic attack isn't based, even though it does magic damage, it's not based on his magic attack, it is based on his physical attack. Um, and as you can see, Satori does not have a particularly high physical attack. He has 15,000. So that's why, interestingly, Satori actually does decent with physical attack buffs because it makes his basic attack deal so much more damage. He's kind of the almost like the opposite of Cornelius, I guess. Cornelius does physical damage based on magic attack. He does magic attack based on physical attack. But yeah, so where I just accidentally clicked off of him. There we go. But you can see here 17,540 magic defense, and then you have heroes like Martha. She has 26,000 magic defense, so she has 9,000 more magic defense. Martha is always going to take 75% less damage from Satori without magic pen. So, I mean, you can stack 5 marks on her. All you're going to do is just make her go, her and her team go faster and faster. I don't have Peppy maxed, but you can see here her magic defense is 14,000. I'm only missing it from glyphs, so magic defense and intelligence are where I'm missing my magic defense on her. So her magic defense actually breaks 18,000 just barely. So then, again, that's higher than Satori's 17,540. Then you also figure a lot of Peppies have Faceless on the team. Adds 3,000 on top of that. So now all of a sudden Peppy has 21,000 magic defense. So again, that's going to cut Satori's damage in half, 50%. What do you think the best hero release of 2021 in your opinion? If you could only level up one, you had to choose. So thinking back, we had Tristan, we had Zisha, we had who else did we have? Why am I drawing blanks? I can go back. Isaac, Zisha, Tristan, and now Amira. So if I had to rank them in an order, so I can't really rank Amira. She sounds like she's going to be good. I can't say how good, but I'm going to say that my ranking for them would probably be Tristan, Amira, Zisha, Isaac, in that order. I think Tristan is still far above and beyond the best of the heroes that have come out this year. I mean, he's just absolutely crazy. He brings so much to the table, and it's all because of this skill right here. This skill and his armor penetration artifact weapon. So this is pretty much his bread and butter. I mean, a lot of people tend to focus on this skill, but it really isn't that useful. This is what you want to look at. Because a lot of people, they tend to either think of him as a damage dealer, or they get so they get so caught up in the you need a tank, a damage dealer, a healer kind of mindset. With Orion, he's spamming Magic Pen all the time. You put Tristan behind 2 tanks, so this says anytime an ally gains energy, Tristan gains the same amount. So from their basic attacks and from all damage that they receive, Tristan gains the same amount of energy that they're gaining. Um, it does count as bonus energy, so he gets kind of torn apart by Satori, but that doesn't mean that he's not good. I mean, a lot of heroes like Jorgen get torn apart by Satori, but he's still good. Orion does, he's still good. Phobos, also amazing. So yeah, definitely Tristan has brought the most changes to 2021. Um, I don't think I can safely say it though, because we don't have Amira. We haven't seen everything that she can do. Uh, she may pass him, but I think it'll be tough because having a way to actually consistently cut through armor is huge, and not requiring Sebastian to do it. Not requiring crit to do it. What tanks do I use him with the most? I mostly use him with Cleaver and Galahad. That's just me. But I've also used him with Ziri and Galahad. I've used him with Rufus and Galahad. I've used him with Ziri and Cleaver. Yeah, it's kind of like various combinations of them. In rare instances, I've used him with Luther and Galahad just because to get the extra blessed bonus. But mostly, and this is particularly since Cleaver's rework that I've used him with Cleaver and Galahad, because Cleaver and Galahad both deal massive amounts of damage, and they both have vampirism, so they kind of keep themselves alive while shredding through the enemy front line. So it's a very fast team. You put Tristan, Galahad, Cleaver, Sebastian, Jet, it just kind of stomps over teams that are in their way. It deals surprising amounts of damage, and like I don't know what pick a team that doesn't have Satori or Jorgen on it. Because those are the two heroes that really slow that team down. I mean, you put Astaroth on there at all, like he dies so fast. Uh, let's just say Astaroth, Jorgen, Faceless. I don't know, Celeste, and then Amvari is not good for this lineup anyway. I mean, heck, we'll just throw Kark in there. I mean, my Kark's not amazing, but it's just to show an example of how much damage this team does, how quickly. Just so, and I'm just gonna play this battle regular speed because it goes kind of quick. And you notice Tristan's energy just like rising out of control already, way faster than the enemy Jorgen. And look, all of a sudden everybody's dead, just like that, because Tristan gets two armor penetration buffs going, and look, the team took basically no damage. You just walk right through them. Samir, it depends, because Blender is really strong, damage output wise, and Kira certainly has the potential of killing Sebastian. If Sebastian dies, the the team with Tristan will probably lose to Blender. But if Sebastian doesn't die, then it won't. Aurora, Andy, Faceless, Peppy, Martha. Okay. And even without critting it, they've still done a good amount of damage to Aurora. And with Galahad's knockback, it pushes the whole group into Anvari, so he starts taking massive cleave damage because all three of the front lines just deal insane damage. And you see there that team just kind of keeled right over. Like one of the biggest things you have to you either have to prevent Galahad from ulting, you have to kill Tristan, or you have to kill Sebastian. You have to have one of those three things happening. And I'll just play that back so you can see the damage meter. But you can see, I mean, the battle ends pretty quickly. Because once they get rolling, it's just ugly. Less than a minute. And you can see there, look at the damage Cleaver did. Almost 1,000,000 damage. Same with Tristan. Even Sebastian's getting up there with Galahad. So it's a pretty tough team. And so let me just go back here. What's this? ADA Leon Dorian. Yes, I can try that. I assume you want me to try that as the defensive lineup against the other team. ADA Leon Dorian. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you say Dorian? Yeah, you did. Okay, good. Now we've got. Let me see. Cleavers. Chat. Alright. So Dorian, I don't really know why you put him on the team. I think I know why, but he's really not bringing anything to the team, unfortunately. And you can see, like, these guys are just monsters. Like, they just walk over anything in their path. Not anything, but you know, just example. They're pretty tough. So what do you guys want to do here? You guys want to keep putting up teams about that? You guys want to talk about Satori some? What do you want to do? Like, let's see here. It's like this team I used to use a lot to deal with Kark teams and Twins teams in general. This Tristan crit team. Oh. I mean, this is typically a good option against them. I think in rare scenarios they can get through, but So you can see here the twins kind of did them dirty. It was a lot of back and forth, but twins won. And you know, again, it's somewhat RNG based. Um, you know, it seems like twins beat everything, right? But like once Jorgen ults, it gets pretty ugly. In general, like this team really struggles to beat Jorgen, Satori, and sometimes Kara Blender, but it depends. But if the Twins team doesn't have Jorgen, sometimes they'll just walk right through them. Because the whole thing is, remember, it relies on Tristan gaining that energy boost. So if you have for sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, for the energy boost. So when you have Amira, who's going to potentially be draining the energy a lot, Luther, Galahad, Tristan, Sebjet on defense. Okay. Yeah, he's potentially going to shut down, or she's potentially going to shut down Tristan. Yeah, George, if you want to get 3 teams, that's fine. We can do that. David, yes, I will probably do a live stream once she comes out, just so we can get a better feel for her abilities and that kind of thing after I do a little research on my own. You know, I'm not going to be able to max her out right away, but I'll be able to put a good bit into her, so we'll see. And then I saw one other comment in there about this Luther team. So I guess it's Agor. What did you want to see hit this team? David, Amira could potentially be a good addition to a Twins team because I know mostly Twins struggle against magic damage teams, and you know there's going to be a portion of the battle that they're protected by her, and they're not going to take magic damage below a certain amount. Now, actually, I wonder. It says that it says that she doesn't that they don't take damage below a certain amount, but it doesn't say it's like Alvenor's that it blocks it. Did it? I don't think it said that. Yeah, it just says that they won't take damage below that amount. So I think if the amount is above that, they'll probably take the full amount. Is the way that I'm understanding that. Do I think Ziri, Anvari, Orion, Helios, Jorgen works against it? I don't know. Let's see. Ziri, Orion. Where did that go? Ziri, Anvari, Orion, Helios, Jorgen. Let's see. My Orion is missing a little bit of magic attack, but otherwise, and my Ziri is missing her physical attack glyph, but otherwise this team is maxed. Looks like it does work against it. Not without casualties, but it definitely worked. Jorgen, again, is kind of the key to this team, to beating this team. Because you're restricting Galahad from being able to just wipe your whole team. So hopefully that team worked for you. I'm just gonna call you Gore for simplicity. So hopefully that suffices for you. Ziri, Anvari, Jorgen, Orion, Helios. And you can see Helios did a lot of damage. Alright, so George, you've got some teams there. Zuri Judge, and so the idea. So you said like this. Consider this like a cross server war lineup. So the idea is to beat these three teams without any crossover units. Is that the idea? Yeah, Khaled, that's kind of the nature of some of these RNG teams, crit RNG teams, because like sometimes they can just explode and kill your unit. Tristan targets your Orion specifically because he has the highest magic pen on the team, so you have to kind of be careful of that. Since you don't have a healer for him. Right, cannot repeat heroes like in Cross Server War. Okay, so what do we have here? Zeri, Judge, Celeste, Cornelius, Phobos, Rufus, Maya, Fox, Leandorian. And so is this something that you want to open up to the stream? So let's start with this team. Zeri, Judge, Celeste, Cornelius, Phobos. Team 1. Then Team 2, Rufus, Maya, Fox. Where did they go? Leandorian. And then, last but hopefully not least. Okay, sounds good, George. I appreciate you offering up the teams. Aurora, Ish, Dante, Seb, Lilith. Dante, Aurora, Sebastian, Ishmael. My Ishmael is not quite maxed. He's only missing his glyphs, and I forgot to label it Team 3. So that will hold him back a little bit, but not too much, hopefully. Alright, so we need to get through these three teams. It's a good example for people watching. They can test it in their guilds. Yep, it's true. So I don't know how the team would do. I mean, I see that it really lacks magic penetration. So, I mean, we could just try and cheese this team and do kind of what we were just doing, since I don't see Jurgen, I don't see a lot of those units that I was complaining about. So we'll just do this and see if this team gets run over. I kind of feel like they might. But I might be wrong. That's what testing's for. Yep, they got ran over. Okay, so there's team 1. So now we can't use Cleaver, Galahad, Sebastian. I mean, I could have also probably used that team here. But I feel like Twins probably do well here. So, I mean, we can just throw this. Something like this, maybe. I'm actually kind of wondering about that. This probably isn't going to work. I'll just throw it in just to test it. But Maya being there really messes with this particular lineup. But let's see. But Maya and Leon both get destroyed by Corvus, which is what I was hoping. Alright, so Twins took that team out. And then, what do we have? This team. Oh, that's right. This team is what I usually use Twins on. But no twins left, so let's go with Ziri to pretty much just block-ish forever. Let's see. I don't even know. I usually use twins to beat this, so I guess we'll throw Helios in there just so Ish kills himself slowly. Leon. Maya really messes with ADA. And I don't have... Man, I don't have Dorian anymore, so that's gonna hurt. I really need Dorian for this fight. I feel like Orion. I was gonna say Lilith, but let's just go Orion. I know the enemy Lilith is gonna be tough here without that center healing. Yeah, Orion dropped like I thought. Ishmael's down, that's good. My main damage dealer is gone though, that sucks. Maya being the main damage dealer. Yeah, so that one was just kind of a stab in the dark. I didn't really expect that to win. Let's see what we've got here. So actually, did I use Jorgen or Faceless in the other two? I'm trying to think. No, I didn't. Okay, so let's give them a whirl. See how they do. Ziri definitely. Jorgen Faceless. What else would be good here? Let's see. Well, they're really lacking healing, so Heidi's a potential good option there. I still want Maya on the team, but I don't. I feel like Ishmael is gonna... I don't really have Kark built, unfortunately. He's only 83,000, I think. So I can't really use Kark. Twins normally just walks right over that team, but I'm not gonna backtrack right now. I'm gonna go with Kai. Dude, trust me, I'm gonna make Kark great again as soon as I have him built. Kai is actually a really great choice in a team like this because he's gonna get exposed because of Dante, and then he's just gonna start ulting like crazy. Look at that. Look at that. Go, team, go. We got it. Zeri, Kai, Heidi, Jorgen, Faceless. Boom. Yeah, like as long as Ish didn't get like crazy crits, that those 2 hits when Kai was exposed, then there you go. But yeah, I wish it like told me versus team 1, team 2. I guess I already know, so. No, I mean, Kai and Maya are both great units to be in that second position against a pushback team, because they're going to get exposed. They both have like a decent amount of health. Kai is around 240 or 270k health, and Maya's in the 300s. So, they both can take a hit, and Maya's going to heal herself. She's also going to do a lot of damage. Kai is going to, again, heal himself also while doing a lot of damage. So, and especially on a team like that doesn't have any healers, Heidi being able to just spray pure damage the whole time really adds to the effect. So it was nice. But that wasn't too bad. Got two on the first try. The other on the third or second. That's why Amira will be needed. What's gonna make her needed? Sorry. I think I missed that part. Because his health is 282k? Why is that? You mean she's gonna offer him protection? Or what was your angle with that? I think Orion's new magic attack skin is interesting. I think he already deals a fair amount of damage. I don't have the damage maxed because I really don't use Orion that often. So, oh, I see, against Ishmael's crits. Got it. Yep, makes sense. But yeah, I don't use Orion that often aside from just giving Helios Magic Pen. I don't find there's many other situations where I really need to use Orion. I have used him when I use Satori to tank. That works really well because it basically makes it so Satori can tank having Orion on the team against a lot of mage teams. But beyond that, I don't use Orion that often, so I don't know the thresholds. So when I say that, I mean, every time Orion attacks, he's going to leave people with like a set amount of health left, and then he's going to switch targets because he only goes for the targets that have the most health. He never targets heroes that are low in health. So there might be a threshold, like there might be fights where he almost kills somebody. In those fights, if that is the case, like if he's almost killing people, then this magic attack skin could be what he needs, because where's his destruction? 45%. So he's going to get another 4,500 damage roughly on his each missile. So he's going to hit each target with 2 missiles, so another 9,000 damage. So if you're getting within 9,000 damage of killing a target, this could be really good. If you're not getting within 9,000 of killing a target, this could be bad, because certain fights it might make heroes reach their ultimate sooner. Again, it's not always going to happen. In some fights it might, but in other fights he might pick off the kill. So who knows? I like I said, I don't use him enough. You can see I haven't maxed all of his glyphs. I'm still missing Magic Pen. Funny glyph for him to have. Intelligence and magic defense. So I'm still missing those damage sources from him. But okay, yep. I appreciate you being here too, George. Let's see here though. But yeah, so the thoughts on Orion. I think that it is going to be a mixed bag. I'm not in a rush to max his new skin, as an example. Like Dorian, I will max Dorian's new skin before I max Orion's. Although I'm going to be maxing Amira's before I max Dorian's, and I only have enough to max one, so I'm going to be maxing Amira's base skin, and then go partial into Dorian's. But like Dorian here, I'm only really missing this stuff. But of course, magic defense I'm already missing on him. So again, I'm not in a rush to build them. Amira's skin is the one I'm most interested in. Maybe Amira is a good counter to him, and they gave him a skin against it. I mean, Amira is a good counter against his missiles, yes, but only for mystics, because it's always up for them. It's not always up for everybody. I mean, she's going to offer the team some protection, but I mean, it's really going to mess with the timing of the battles. Because when you're used to half your team taking a bunch of damage from Orion and gaining a bunch of energy, that timing is all going to be thrown way off now because of Amira. So I wouldn't say it counters him. Against a team of Mystics, it absolutely does, but against other teams, I don't think it counters him. I think it basically is gonna change things. So you're gonna have a lot. You're gonna have to do a lot of battles. You're gonna have to do a lot of trial and error and see, exactly what's going on based on the timing. And with respect to your own teams, because your stats are probably going to be different. Not everyone's going to have fully built units of both your opponents and yourself. So there's going to be a lot of trial and error and things that you have to consider, when you're choosing these teams. So you're really going to need to pay attention to the enemy's power, and you're going to have to weigh where you think the stats are. But yeah, Orion is my bottom priority to build for the new skins. Then Dorian is the middle, and Amira is the top priority. Luther also is high priority, but I already have those stones, and he's the only strength, so I don't have to weigh against the others. I'm actually really excited about Luther's skin because Luther is going to become as tanky magic defense as Astaroth, basically. You can see here he has 16,352 magic defense. Then you have his passive, it increases it by 1,000, so he's got 17,352. So Satori still fully pierces him in his current state. But he's going to get 10,000, 10,650, I think it is, magic defense. That's going to push him over 28,000, or 28,002 magic defense. So that's a lot. He's going to be way more annoying to deal with, which is good. He needs that. I want them to rework this skill anyway. Doctrine of Faith is terrible. They need to make that 5,000. If they make that 5,000, I will be happy. That will be very good, and he will see a lot more use. You could guarantee that, particularly on defense. So, I mean, his other skills are fine. I mean, I'm not really worried about the damage. They could increase it if they want. It's not going to make a big difference. Dorian skin's so important because, where is he at? He's down on my list because I don't have him built very high. Here he is. So let me look right here. Magic defense on my Dorian is 11,000 right now. I'm still missing intelligence. I'm still missing some magic defense from the glyph. So let me just do some quick math here. So 3360, which is the max for the glyph, minus 708. So I'm missing 2652 from that glyph, and I'm missing 560 from the int glyph. So my Dorian is missing 3212 magic defense plus 11564. So his max magic defense is 14,776. And so it's not that high. You find a lot of mid-range. There's a lot of more and more mid-range penetration heroes being added now. Heroes, I mean, and old ones. You have Satori, you have Celeste, you have Faceless, you have Elvenar, you have Amira, you have, I mean, even Lilith has around that range. Orion has around that range. So you have all these heroes that have around that, like 16,000, 17,000 range of magic pen. So Dorian doesn't reduce their damage at all. He doesn't always take a lot of magic damage, but when he does, it would be nice if he could mitigate some of it. People always say, well, I don't care if Dorian's alive or dead, but you should, because if Dorian dies, whoever killed him, someone on the enemy team, they gain 30% energy for killing him. So that shifts the dynamic of the fight pretty dramatically versus if he's alive and just tanking hits. I mean, it could potentially, and then if you add Faceless to the team, he gets another 3,000. So you have 14,776 plus 3,000. Now he has 17,776, so he'll actually reduce some of Satori's damage very minorly, but then you add 10, 650 from the magic defense. Now he has 28, 426 magic defense. And then if we look at Astaroth, 28, 119. So Dorian will have more magic defense than Astaroth with that skin. And you know how tanky Astaroth is against magic attacks. So imagine that you have Dorian, who's just going to be shrugging attacks off. He's going to be able to use his skill more often. Dorian is actually a pretty good healer on his own, like him actually healing, not just his aura, because he deals. Or is it the Ancestor's Amulet? Is that it? Yeah. So he sacrifices 20% of his current health and heals an ally, the lowest health ally. So if you have your Dorian with more health because he's not taking as much damage, he's going to be healing his allies more. So he becomes just more effective all around. So hopefully that answers the question. A lot of teams in the meta now are very magic heavy, and magic defense heavy teams win right now. So like there's a lot of fights that I use Dorian in that are magic defense heavy, and Dorian is the only one that dies. But I would love it if he just didn't die and he was able to keep the rest of my team up more effectively. Because there's also skills that displace units, and if Dorian dies in a particular spot on the battlefield, and then like Lars casts his Tornado or Maya's Roots kind of grip people around, or you kill a unit and advance across the battlefield, you might walk out of Dorian's aura, and if he stays dead back there, his aura is not helping you anymore. So Dorian alive is way better than Dorian dead, so magic defense skin is important. That's the long-winded answer. Yeah. In certain setups, you absolutely can do that, kind of using Cleaver's strength against him. That's a good idea. If you have a lot, if a lot of your damage dealers are at the front line, that can absolutely benefit you. And that's one of the reasons I love, all the diversity in heroes and things in this game. Like, there's a lot of creative things you can come up with. It's pretty fun. And I'm probably going to end the stream in about 15 minutes. So just wanted to get on here and talk some about the Mystics, talk about things that are just going on in people's heads. What else do you guys have? Undead seems to destroy the Mystic tribe. Any thoughts about that? I mean, it's possible. I don't know how they do against the tribe in general, but I know that it's a lot of mages. I know Phobos hurts mages very badly. Mystics can use Rufus. Morrigan counters the resurrection of Rufus. Kira in general counters mages. I think rather than fix the bug that exists with Sebastian, they're just trying to de-incentivize people from partnering Kira with Sebastian. But yeah, I mean, Kira in general is a mage killer. That was her purpose. So Kira was this version of Kira that you see is actually her rework. She originally was a support unit in, I think it was 2018 is when she got reworked. So yeah, I think Satori will still be viable, or I'm sorry, Phobos will still be viable against him. But you're going to have to leverage magic attack buffs to get him over that hump. Or at the very least, it's so he can energy burn and lock him down with, so Kira can do all the work. But I definitely think Amira is going to be able to protect Satori, which is good because Phobos needs to have some kind of mage that is a counter to him. I don't think he should just have free reign over everybody. I think there should be at least one or two that can beat him. So I think Satori is a good choice for that because Phobos gains bonus energy. I think it naturally lends itself to that. And Phobos has insanely high magic defense anyway, so it's kind of like a give and take, like a back and forth. Sometimes one will win, sometimes the other might. It really depends on how the fight goes. But yeah, Cornelius is really great against Satori. And that's good. Like there should be balance. Like there should be units and teams that beat other teams. Who will Phobos attack first? When you say attack, do you mean his little beam or do you mean his ult? Because it says he attacks the highest magic attack stat. So it depends on who you put on your mystic team, because there's 6 mystics, right? Celeste has 66,000 magic attack. 66,960. Satori has 65,240. But every basic attack, Satori gains 720 magic attack. So you have 65,240 minus, what was it, 66, what was Celeste? 66,960. So 1720 difference. Divide that by 720, you get 3. So take after 3 basic attacks, Satori has the highest magic attack. So Satori is more than likely who Phobos is going to attack. Unless you don't max Satori's magic attack skin, or it really depends on how your team is balanced. But every basic attack, Satori gains 720 magic attack. So Austin, it really depends on the whole team that is with Phobos. Like if it's an undead Phobos team, that shifts things very differently than if it's just Phobos hiding behind Astaroth or Aurora or something like that. So the whole team matters in that decision. So if you want to give me the team you're talking about, I can give more insight. Phobos. Well, I'm sorry. I need the full team, not just the 2 units. I'll put it in training here. You can see. Well, Hans, I don't know if Blender's going to do that well against Satori once the Mystic buff comes out because of Amira's second skill. Fair deal. She's going to reduce the critical hit damage of the enemy team. So Phobos Lilith, what else do you got? This is going back to Austin. What team? Aurora, Dante, Dorian, Phobos, Lilith. Aurora, Dante, Dorian, Phobos, Lilith. Okay. So against a team like that, I would run something like Lilith. I know it sounds funny. Phobos, Leon, Maya, Dorian. This would be my first go-to. Let's just see how it works. So right away Dante's pushing Maya back, which is great because now she's in the aura. Now Leon's up front. Now everybody's getting stunned every time they hit her. Now we have 2 magic defense buffs active. We have a lot of magic damage kind of being tossed around. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. And there you go. my team took almost no damage, and I just shut them down. So like the first four I have there, a little bit of a spoiler alert. Leon, Dorian, Phobos, and Lilith is it's going to be in the spreadsheet under meta attacking teams. Like so, Leon, Phobos, Dorian, Lilith is definitely one of the meta teams right now. It just rips other teams to pieces, particularly mage teams, because everybody just sits in Dorian's aura, and unless they have Corvus, which even then it doesn't always kill everybody. Need to add another variable. Beating Phobos without Phobos. Okay, so Phobos with no Phobos. Well, let's see. So Maya, Leon, Dorian, Lilith, and let's say Peppy. Let's see how that goes. So keeping the magic defense buff active still in the team after replacing Phobos. Let's see how this goes. A little more risky. Okay, so this one doesn't work quite as good. But maybe not. Okay, no. Alright, so I have to do a little work here, restructure and see. Let's try Thea, see how she holds up. Well, I feel like there's something that I'm missing, and it's not that. Where's Dorian? Sebastian is not a mage. And he specifically asked me to try to do it with a mage team. So this team actually looks like it's going to time out. So I got everyone but Lilith there. Getting closer. What did I use there? Faceless? So Leon. My Lilith is just dropping like crazy, so maybe Orion is the answer. My Orion doesn't have max magic defense though, so that's gonna hurt. I'm missing somebody, Maya. Yeah, Zisha is another hero that I'm overlooking, but this team doesn't have particularly low magic defense. I'm hoping... Man, I don't know why my Lilith is just dying. I need to... So I guess I could just take her out of the team, because she's really not doing anything. Alright, so new plan, remove Lilith. So Leon, Maya, Cornelius, my boy. There we go. Maybe that's who we're missing. Because if we could just get that Phobos out of the fight, I think all our worries would be gone. It looks like it. There's your team. Maya, Orion, Cornelius, Leon, Dorian. Does that help, Austin? Do you have those units? Because that was a pretty convincing one. And my Orion isn't maxed, so he still has some room to grow. For both damage and magic defense. Yeah, it feels like that's kind of the struggle a lot. Yeah, there's always like one or two heroes you're missing, and it's like you don't just because resources are so hard to get, you don't want to build a whole like one specific hero for one of these just very specific team fights. Um, but sometimes expanding your roster is what you need. Uh, yeah, but also you could consider not running mage teams to beat it. I don't know if this would work, but we were running this a lot earlier. That worked. Not mages, but that worked. Just power through them. Big bulky team. Cleaver, Galahad, Tristan, Sebastian, Jet. Oh, that's not the team that I was just trying to watch. Yeah, see, Lilith gets hooked to the front and just gets wrecked. Yeah, I mean, whenever you have a hero that's completely reworked, uh, and you have, look at that, some guild activity, love it. Whenever you have a hero like that that's just completely reworked, or you have new heroes, uh, the meta shifts, and everything that you knew about the game, not everything, but there's a fair amount of what you knew about the flow of battle that changes, and everyone goes through the pain points. Like you have to roll with the punches, and it's not fun. But sometimes it's good to kind of lay low, stockpile resources, and when you see the way things are shifting, either asking questions, watching streams, um, figure out the direction you want to go, and then start going in that direction. Because on most servers, you can compete with people if you have heroes that are somewhere between 70 and 60 to 80,000. You can compete against max heroes. You want 80, probably 80 plus, but in some circumstances you can beat them with lower. But you don't have to feel like you need to max every hero if you don't have the resources to do that. You can stop in that 60 to 80k range if they're serving the purpose that you want them to serve. And the more time you play, you're going to get a lot of resources spread out across everybody. So your average power of your heroes is going to be rising too. But it's right at that time now, so I'm gonna be heading out. But let me just see this comment here. Curious how the Tristan team will do against Amira. Do against Amira. I don't think it's going to be affected by Amira because Amira affects the crits of agility heroes. But like we talked about, Tristan will always get hit by that energy block, but Amira will have to be maxed for that to happen, because it's based on her magic attack, so she needs max magic attack, which will be a while, at least for me. But I'm going to be doing my best to get her up as quick as I can. Um, Probably won't really have her viable until they have a Valkyries event, but we'll wait till they have that. Better to level up the new hero. Well, and David, not all new heroes are viable when they have no skins. So that's something else to consider. Skins are kind of what make heroes viable. Yeah, Nebula buff on Amira will affect Mystics, um, how much magic damage they can mitigate. But guys, I appreciate you stopping into the stream. I'm going to cut it for now. I have an appointment I need to run to, but it's been fun talking about Mystics, Amira, Satori, team fights in general. Um, hopefully you come by when I stream again. But I wanted to get this out since we had a lot of stuff buzzing around the groups. All right, well, I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Take care.